Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments from either board for Steve?
I have one, sure. So in California, you require that they actually provide you a certificate of insurance, correct?
Correct.
To verify, because I'm licensed there, and I believe we have to do that every year, or every other year, I can't remember. But why is it on your general liability insurance? And my company is an LLC. Why do you only require verification of general liability for LLCs? It seems to me that's been for any business basically started in the last 20 years, it's actually more likely that there'll be an LLC than a corporation, than a C corporation. I just wonder what the logic is behind that. It must be in law, I guess. Is that why, or why do you do it that way?
I'm going to have to refer to Dave Fote. That's out of my area of expertise.
If there's a demonstrated need to have the limited liability companies and other classifications have the liability insurance. So there was a proposal, I know Phil Vermeulen is very familiar with this, that would have required it at one time, and the outcome of that was that there has to be a disclosure notice, but not a requirement that a contractor have it. So it really comes down to whether that's a barrier to licensure that's justified for all licensees.
It just says only if an LLC. That's why I was wondering. I believe we do provide it every time we relicense because we are an LLC. That just seems to me to be something that protects the public. If you have, especially we're talking about unlicensed contractors, but if you have a licensed contractor who doesn't carry general liability insurance, to me that's equally problematic as not carrying workers' compensation insurance. It's for the protection of the public and the client that the contractor's working for. Anyway, it was just something I've wondered.
Thank you. Additional questions? Oh, Joe?
Yes, sorry.
Hey, Steve, can I grab you one more time? We have one more board question.
I just wondered how you handle casual labor or 1099s. So the contractor says, I'm just going to pick up a few guys to do some work, or I'm going to 1099 them. Does that fly in the state of California?
It does not fly. It's very challenging. When we show up at a job site and we have a contractor, whether they're licensed or unlicensed, and they have employees working there, we have a series of questions that we ask to determine whether or not these individuals are acting in the capacity of an unlicensed subcontractor or employee. And what it comes down to is direction and control. There's a whole list of questions we ask. How are you being paid? Do you bring your own tools? Do you set your own hours? These types of things. And through those questions, we make a determination if the individual is an employee or an unlicensed subcontractor.
Okay, and then just one last follow-up question, because we just went through this. So how do you treat employment agencies or temp agencies if they're putting people out?
That's another challenge that we run into, again, with the leads, usually. We'll get a lead that there's a project and somebody, usually a licensed contractor or a compliance agency, has come across it and checked the contractor's license and see that they're exempt from workers' comp, and they file a complaint with us. So we send our investigators out there, and unfortunately, sometimes we do find that they have hired employees from a temp agency, and we contact that agency and we get proof of that, and if that's the case, we don't have a violation.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Okay, public?
Hi, I'm Phil Vermeulen, lobbyist in California for the construction industry for the last 41 years. First off, on regards to the general liability, I carried a bill, or I had a bill introduced in 1999 and 2000 to mandate general liability insurance for all contractors in California. Guess who my biggest opponents were? The insurance companies. In California, with the workers' comp policy, when the state fund is the insurance company of last resort, it's a quasi-public agency, and the vast majority at one time, now it's not that way, all went to state fund to obtain their workers' comp. The insurance companies were worried that if we mandated it, the legitimate contractors worth their weight are going to get general liability insurance. The rest of them they look at as the dregs. Their fear was that they'd have to create a state fund for general liability insurance. So they fought me tooth and nail. So we had to compromise, and that's why the mandatory disclosure. But absolutely. With regard to LLCs, we tried to get through, the industry tried to get through for many years an LLC, because up until 2011, if my memory serves me correct, we couldn't have LLCs for construction in California. So the industry lobbyists got together, we got a bill through the legislature that allowed for LLCs. But in the 11th hour, our labor brethren came back and said, we want a couple of additional requirements in there. One, if you get an LLC as a contractor in California, you have to have a $100,000 worker bond. That was part of our labor brethren wanted that requirement. The general liability came up at that same time, and that's how that came into play. Plus, it was an opportunity for us, since we couldn't get it through for the whole industry, to get that in at least for LLCs. So that's why there's the difference between the two. One other thing, there was a question about the definition of a worker versus a contractor. AB 5 was passed a couple of years ago in California that mandated, now it's clear, black and white, in terms of if you're a contractor, you've got a license. If you don't, you're an employee, bottom line. So that's the way that works now. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil. Any other questions from the public?
Can I make more comment? Is that okay?
Please, I would appreciate that.
Thank you. Bruce Wick, Housing Contractors of California. I'd like to talk for a little bit about the underground economy and the production world of construction. You know, there's the remodel industry that's got all kinds of problems, but the production industry, residential and commercial public works, also has underground employers, and these people are fairly sophisticated. And so I'd like to suggest a few ways we can enlist more resources, because we can't come up with more resources internally, but we can enlist people outside to participate. As you may know, in California, through a workers' comp surcharge, employers directly fund the Department of Industrial Relations. This year, that amount is $1.37 billion that the state does not have to pay, we as employers pay. And of that amount, $50.5 million goes to district attorneys to prosecute insurance fraud. And they compete for that money. 46 of our 58 counties compete. So they want to show big dollar cases to get the most money they can. And so I continually go to the Fraud Assessment Commission meetings and say, I appreciate, and yes, it's good you go after provider fraud, the medical providers that do all the goofy things. But I say, I also believe you have a duty to the employers who are paying this entire amount. It comes through the insurance department and the insurance commissioner, but it's totally funded by employers, to do applicant fraud, employee fraud, to protect the individual employer, especially in construction, to protect our ex-mod from a fraudulent employee case. But also you have a duty, moral and otherwise, to protect your community from a bad actor contractor. In California, it's kind of weird. If you don't have workers' compensation as an employer, it's a misdemeanor. But if you have insurance, workers' comp insurance, and commit premium fraud, it's a felony. Weird. So DAs can prosecute it. It's a big part of the underground employer combat, mission, because a lot of people will balk at committing a felony, or they will shut down or do something different. So it would be great. In my opinion, I believe CSLB has a great reputation outside this industry. And I believe if CSLB joined in that, going to the Fraud Assessment Commission meetings and saying that same thing, you have a duty, district attorneys, to take the money you're given, and even though it may not be a big dollar case like the provider fraud, you need to clean up your local community from the bad actor contractors. The individual remodel contractors, they're not excited about going, but the production work, yeah, they should go after those people. I think that's really important as well. I think we could go to the Department of Insurance and enlist loss control people. In my opinion, there's at least 600 of those people wandering around California investigating businesses. There's probably about 1 million insured employers across California who are audited every year. And especially as our bills kick in and every contractor is going to have insurance, you know, to avoid them doing the misclassification, all that, we want auditors to come out and be looking for this stuff, misclassification, dual wage and all that stuff. I had a meeting with a lead auditor for a major insurance company who said, my job, if I go out to an employer, is to classify the payroll properly. I said, I'm sorry, I respectfully disagree with you. I believe your job is to find all the payroll first and then classify it properly. So there's this disconnect. And a lot of times loss control people who are going to go through a company's operations, and if they have questions, they'll send a note to underwriting and it'll die somewhere. If they knew, they could contact CSLB, LATF, or somebody like that and say, you know, there's some really strange things going on with this company, and I don't want to get in trouble for reporting one of my insureds, but man, there's something here. Whenever my members, we try to identify a bad actor competitor, almost always they're insured either with state fund or an insurer that has less than 0.5% of market share in California, meaning they're employing outside contract auditors. And we need to get the word out to all auditing departments and those independent auditors. You're part of this battle for us of identifying potential bad actors so that we can deal with that. So that's enlisting a lot more resources that we don't have to come up with more money for, who really could help us in this combat, because it is a never-ending battle. And I appreciate everything Dave and CSLB and Steve and everybody's doing to help our environment for construction. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay, then we'll turn to agenda item C3C, permit avoidance. My apologies, Paul. Thank you very much.
Actually, I thought you were giving me a pass there, so I want to thank you.
Can't wait to hear
I'll
from
take
you.
it back
Thank you.
down. In Nevada, approximately 6,400 contractors have filed the certificate of exemption, claiming that they do not have employees or act as a subcontractor for a principal contractor. This number represents 37% of all licensed contractors in Nevada. Per the NRS, if a contractor fails to maintain in full force the required industrial insurance, and the board is advised by the Department of Industrial Relations that the licensee has failed to comply with the laws related to industrial insurance, the board will advise the contractor that they have 30 days to provide proof of compliance. Excuse me. If the contractor fails to provide the required proof, the board will summarily suspend the license of the contractor until notice of compliance is received. During the suspension, the contractor cannot bid, contract, or perform any work. If DIR issues a second violation against a contractor, the board will conduct a hearing, and if it is determined that the second offense has been committed within a 5-year period, the board shall revoke the license. Per NRS 3011-1B4, the board can take disciplinary action against the licensee if there is a willful and deliberate disregard of the laws of Nevada regarding industrial insurance. NRS 624-256-3 also provides authority to suspend, revoke, refuse to renew, or otherwise discipline a licensee who fails to maintain the required industrial insurance. The board does not have statutory authority to issue stop work orders when contractors are found on job sites with no workers' compensation insurance. Any licensee who is appearing at a disciplinary hearing must show proof prior to the hearing that they have an active workers' compensation policy. Unlike California, DIR has obviously the statutory authority regarding industrial insurance. Our authority only extends to what NRS 624 allows us to do, and that's what I stated there, identified. However, we have a very good working relationship with DIR, and their authority allows them to enforce the laws regarding workman's compensation. Our authority only extends to the licensee and what we can do to the license. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions from the boards?
Going back to the certificates of insurance, it just is interesting to me that some states require those as proof, and in Nevada, I think it's just a checkbox on the license renewal application that your insurance is current.
It's actually an exemption that's filed with DIR.
Now, I'm wondering for proof of workers' compensation, like when the license is renewed, how do we verify that they actually carry workers' compensation? Oh, that's Nancy. Okay.
I'll defer to Ms. Mathias, our licensing administrator, for that.
Thank you for that question. We do require that the applicant at time of renewal provide their policy number, the name of their insurance company, as well as the expiration date of the policy. We do not ask for a copy of the policy. We will verify those on occasion, and if we have a complaint against the licensee or we're moving toward disciplinary action, then we'll ask for the proof.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from board members? Any comments or questions from the public?
Steve-
Okay, thank you, Paul.
Steve Pinelli has to leave in about 15 minutes.
Yep, he's up next, so yep, great. Okay, permit avoidance. Steve, would you be
Good morning,
gracious enough
everyone.
to add us? Thank you.
Put these on so I can see. My name is Steve Pinelli. I'm one of the board's public members and serve as the building official on the board. So everything you're talking about today, I deal with on a daily basis. I'm going to share 2 additional issues that contribute to the state's underground economy: permit avoidance and house flipping. In both California and Nevada, contractors' failure to comply with building permit requirements is a cause of fines and/or license discipline. CSLB developed a building permit training video for contractors detailing permit requirements and how not pulling building permits hurts the property's owner and contractor's business. CSLB also created a building permit complaint form and encourages consumers, contractors, and building officials to file building permit complaints with CSLB. The form is available on CSLB's website. CSLB took 981 legal actions for permit violations between January 2018 and June 2022. CSLB strategies to address permit compliance: develop communications with C20 HVAC and C38 refrigeration contractors on California's decarbonization goals, sponsoring legislation Assembly Bill 1747 to increase CSLB's maximum fines for permit violations. We deal with the board and building officials dealing with just permit compliance fines and going to code enforcements and actually sending things to the board of CSLB is something that we're trying to develop more and more. Not just going to district attorneys, but also, and I've mentioned this with the board already, is trying to get a link connected with the board. And I would even suggest, even with Nevada's board and any other board, to reach out to their building officials and trying to get a link together. And when I'm saying that is people that are going on our websites that are looking for specific permits or complaints and seeing that and having it be specific. I don't want to see something that's going to a homepage and then they have to go through everything. Basically being, if you're working for plumbing, building, electrical, and you want to file a complaint against somebody's license, to have that link specific and then having the dialogue sending them to a homepage of a CSLB or any other board. I think it would be very helpful. One of the other problems we have is with house flipping. Unlicensed individuals purchasing homes with no intention to live in. We see that daily. Unfortunately, if you turn on a TV channel right now, you can look at online and see this guy buys this house, and in 30 days they flip that house, and it's amazing how the plans, the permits, and everything gets done in 30 days. We're 3 days out for an inspection. 20 minutes away from San Francisco, they're 3 weeks out for an inspection. So to flip a house in 30 days is amazing. And again, unfortunately, people see that and they think that, I can buy this house and do that. We do get a lot of people that are not pulling permits. They're just doing the work internally. They think that, we moved a wall and it's not a big deal, and we moved the plumbing and we moved all the electrical and everything. It's nothing to have to look at, and they're flipping the house. One of the suggestions I had, and I think I spoke with David about it the other day, was making a requirement of somebody having to actually be in that home for a certain amount of time before they can come get permits as a homeowner. Now, if they want to hire somebody with a license to do it, they're going to come get plans, they're going to get permits, they're going to get approvals, they're going to move forward. It's not a big deal, they're going to get inspected. But as a homeowner, we get a lot of people that come in as a homeowner thinking that it's going to be done in snap, and then they start doing the work, and either they haphazardly get everything just barely to pass and haven't even lived in the home for 2 weeks. Or we have people that are buying multiple properties, and in San Francisco, at least, we're saying if you want a homeowner's permit, the intent is to live in the home, you're doing it for yourself. We're finding that they're buying 3 or 4 properties as the homeowner or through an LLC and saying, hey, can we get a permit? We want to, remodel, we're the homeowner. Well, they don't want to pay taxes, they don't want to, have to have a license, they don't want to have to do any of that, and they're doing it for profit, and they're not planning to live in the place. So it makes it very, very hard. They're fraudulently owning it, they're doing it that way. CSLB has been informed by multiple jurisdictions that for any number of reasons, local building departments are not able to verify property ownership at the time of owner-builder permit issuance. We have the assessor's office, and unfortunately, again, I was speaking with David, that the assessor's office gets the title and the deed of the sale, and they're behind. They can be 3 months to 6 months behind. So when we're looking in the websites and to see and verify, Steve Pinelli, he owns this home. Yes, he does. Oh, why does it say Janet Jackson owns the home? No idea. I have to bring all my information. We make a requirement to show it. We get a lot of people that come in for homeowners permits as a LLC. We do not issue homeowners permits for those. We will, in instances, do it if I'm in the LLC, Janet's in the LLC, and Noah's in the LLC, bring them all down to the office, have everybody sign that they're willing to allow Steve to do the work at this house, and they show documentation that they're all there, they're all show proof, then they can move forward and do something like that. 99% of the times, they won't do that. It's very seldom that I have it where somebody will come in with an LLC and showing that they're the only person on the LLC. We have problems before where somebody's given a permit to somebody, either a building permit or electrical or plumbing, and it was an LLC, and we found out that this person was a brother, and the sister and brother can't stand the other brother, and he went in and demolished the house and ransacked it and tried to do the remodel and had no idea what he was doing. And then lawsuits entailed, and we actually were called to go in front of the district attorney and explain our side of it and what we saw what happened. So again, we try to make sure that doesn't happen. Working with the local prosecutors to prosecute contractors for filing false documents with a public official. Penal Code section is 115. We're trying to establish partnerships with local building departments through California Association of Building Officials to encourage sharing of information and tips to possible fraudulent owner-builder activity. We try to do that, and that's kind of the reason why I'm trying to put it on a website. I heard yesterday about videos and everything else. That's one of the biggest things that I'm trying to see if there's a way I can put that out there and make it where it's easier to just get everybody in contact with it so we can stop this underground. There's a lot of people that are coming out of the woodworks because we can't get somebody to do the work. And I hear that everywhere. And we, in Nevada, we can't get a contractor. We can't get a contractor. What happens is when everybody hears that, that's when the black market comes up and they're coming, hey, I can do it for you. And then the problem, I was just speaking with Mr. Martin, was can you come in and fix it now that he, did all this work and it's not done right? Well, he spent $20,000 already thinking that, he was going to get a great job and it's destroyed. And then you got to hire a licensed contractor and it's going to cost you 5 times more because not only does he have to start over, but he has to rip everything out that was put in and then do it all over again. Telling consumers how that is, it's a great tactic. Telling building officials to actually tell people that if you're doing the homeowner's permit yourself, but you're pulling it for somebody else because they don't have a license, that ultimately the insurance company, if something happens, you're the guy doing the work. You're the one that's liable. People don't understand that, and when you bring that up to them, it stops a lot of the people's, oh, really? I'm gonna be liable? Oh, no, I'll go get somebody else. The reason why he has you down here is, or she has you down here, is because they don't have a license and realize that they're having you pull the permit because they can't. And I think that's an important thing that we need to get out to more officials, and we need to bring that and push it forefront. If you have any questions,
Thank you, Steve.
we'll take it.
I really appreciate that. Steve efficiently has covered C and D for California, which I appreciate. Let's cover C with Nevada, and then we can do questions on permit avoidance. So I asked Deputy.
Good morning, Sam Palmer. I'm the new Deputy Executive Officer for the State of Nevada Contractors Board, here to address you on item C3C. And believe me, it is a major headache for us too. Those are big concerns. Permanent avoidance, it's a polite way of saying no building permits were pulled or the work performed is unpermitted. Either way, it's work without a permit. That work by statute requires a permit, and it is therefore illegal. Plain and simple. Contractors must comply with applicable state or local laws relating to the issuance of building permits. In Nevada, a contractor's failure to comply with building permit requirements is a cause for fines and/or license discipline. Contractors that avoid the requirement to get a building permit do so for many reasons. Contractor may be unlicensed. They may think they're saving costs on plans or permit fees. They're trying to avoid dealing with the building officials in their jurisdictions and their permitting processes. Trying to save time in their construction schedule. Think that a permit is not required. Owners don't want to pay for an increase in property taxes, or the reasons can go on for many, many more. However, the risk of not pulling a permit are high and exposes the homeowner to additional liability as well as costs, including the work is undocumented. And any future work expansions may be compromised until that unpermitted work is brought back into compliance as needed, as Steve referenced. Insurance may not cover the repairs or damages of the unpermitted work, especially since it was illegal work. May hamper the sale of the residence in the future because of the illegal work being performed. It is illegal to perform work without a permit and inspections. That work may not meet code and may be potentially unsafe to the homeowner or to the neighborhood. A simple example that happened in Clark County last year. Homeowner recently purchased a tankless water heater for their cabin and was advised by a home improvement store that a permit was not required and that the installation could easily be done by the homeowner. The homeowner installed the tankless heater and obviously did not call for inspections. Within a short time, the homeowner stumbles out of his two-story cabin, where the first floor was the garage and also where he had installed the heater. Neighbor nearby, who just happened to be up at his cabin, runs over to assist the homeowner and then goes inside to assist the homeowner's spouse. And an investigation quickly reveals that the homeowner had not properly vented the exhaust to the exterior of the property. A quick 2-minute inspection, even a video inspection, quick remote video inspection could have stopped this process and could have prevented this almost deadly accident. All we're asking for is a short time period. Just let me take a quick look. We send in a qualified individual to take a look. They can look at things very quickly and tell you if you're on the right track or not. But that's the inspections part of it. Another form of permit avoidance we're seeing lately is where a contractor will apply for, typically online, and obtain a permit but fail to request any inspections. The contractor will then not call for a final inspection, but will advise the homeowner that it's their responsibility to schedule for a final for the contractor's permit. Best example we've got lately here is one of our local contractors pulled over 750 permits in the recent past within multiple jurisdictions in Southern Nevada, charging their clients for each permit, but then never calling for any inspections, let alone finals. The permit then expires after 180 days of no activity, and the work never gets inspected. But at the start of the project, everything looks good. He has a permit. He shows the inspector, I have a permit, or no inspector. He shows the homeowner, I have a permit. If the customer calls the contractor to check status on the final, the contractor reminds them that it was their responsibility to call for the final, even though the contractor is the legal owner of that permit, and it's their full responsibility to call for inspections and for finals. Yes, it's important to pull the permit, but it's almost just as important to final the permit, get those final inspections. Nevada recently issued a statewide industry bulletin back in May 12th of 2022, reminding contractors that pulling permits is required by law and warning that failure to do so is a dangerous liability for all involved. Fiscal year 21-22, NSCB issued 50 administrative citations relating to licensed contractors' failure to comply with building permit requirements. It's our goal to bring these contractors back into better compliance with the laws by educating them on the requirements for permitting and inspections, and as necessary through the disciplinary process. We're also working closer with the local jurisdictions to report all unpermitted work that we encounter, and for the jurisdictions to report back to us all of the unlicensed work that they are aware of. It's a two-way street. We have to have better open communications with all agencies involved. I'm willing to take any questions. Otherwise, thank you.
Any questions from the board on permit avoidance for either California or Nevada? Okay, thank you, Sam. So we'll now turn to item D, house flipping. And Steve, we appreciate you having covered that for California. O. Hernandez to join us and share Nevada's perspective on house flipping.
Great, thank you. Yes, Nevada continues to experience problems with property owners improving properties they own without complying with building permit regulations, contractor license laws, workers' compensation laws, and real estate laws. House flippers, which may be individuals or corporations, may purchase homes, improve them without obtaining any permit, perform home remodeling work, and either flip the house or lease the house with the intent to later sell it. Some of the improvements may include the removing of load-bearing walls, repairing roofs, plumbing, electrical, all without the proper permit or inspections. This has been problematic for home buyers who are unassuming in regards to the amount of work performed without a permit or inspection and the potential problems that may occur in the upcoming months and years of home ownership. The unsuspecting purchaser may not realize the unintended consequences that may arise, such as loss from unpermitted work, the expense of future expansions or renovations that may become more expensive when the work that is not safe or doesn't meet code is discovered and has to be upgraded before any new work can begin. It's estimated that house flippers are currently purchasing approximately 38% of all the homes in Las Vegas metropolitan market, which equates to approximately 45 homes a day. With the remodeling costs associated with these homes, it's estimated that about $181 million a month in unlicensed contracting is being performed, which equates to over $2 billion annually in the Las Vegas Valley alone. Nevada has an owner-builder exemption that a homeowner can apply for in order to obtain permits for construction. Generally, the owner-builder license exemption is designed to allow a person to make improvements to their own real property that they reside in without being subject to license classification laws if the work is self-performed. The owner-builder exemption requires any individual who applies for and obtains an owner-builder permit to execute a declaration that they intend to comply with the license laws, hire only licensed contractors, reside in the property for not less than 1 year, and not sell the property within a specific period of time. This also allows the homeowner to work as a general contractor by hiring and scheduling of licensed subcontractors. And as Steve kind of mentioned earlier, we see a lot of the LLCs coming in that are getting exemptions, and they're homeowners trying to say that they're going to be living in the place when actually they're just flipping them. A couple of problems we're finding with the owner building exemption is individuals purchasing the homes with no intention to live in them and performing the work, often substandard, with unlicensed contractors, and sell the home to an unsuspecting consumer for a quick profit. Licensed contractors obtaining owner-builder permits through the homeowners to perform constructions on homes to avoid regulatory oversight. Both cases are an attempt to misuse the owner building exemption and not comply with the contractor license requirements. Developers and flippers fraudulently use owner builder permits to avoid state oversight of license and safety requirements, insurance, and accountability for the quality of work performed. A contractor without workers' compensation insurance may prefer to work under an owner builder permit in order to transfer liability to the homeowner of a worker's injury on the project. So here are Nevada State Contractors Board strategies for addressing some of the house flipping problems. Meeting with building departments to discuss the scope of the issue and facilitate better reporting of suspected activity. Develop strategies and messaging to inform the public of potential issues with purchasing flipped houses. building and maintaining partnerships with realtors, developers, property managers, and homeowners associations to raise awareness about the issue and the potential financial and safety liabilities. Also amending existing statutes under our NRS 624, allowing for the board to impose discipline to individual companies who submit an owner-builder exemption with misrepresentation of fraudulent information. Another goal is quite simply to reform. We know there are shortages of both labor and physical properties, but that is still no excuse to allow the unlawful commission of illegal practices. Therefore, it's our goal to get these entities licensed and participating in the primary legal market and out of the light of the day, and out into the light of the day, all in an effort to protect the public and create an increase in revenue to our state. We feel that converting the underground economy is not only the right thing to do to protect the unwitting public, but will also capture millions of dollars of lost revenue by the building department, insurance industry, trade accounts, SBA loans, trade schools, unions, and most importantly, licensing fees to the Nevada State Contractors Board, as well as the Residential Recovery Fund. In short, we need these workers licensed and gainfully employed legally. So if anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Thank you, Board Member Hernandez. Any board questions?
I would like to defer to Noah, because we talked about this at the task force, some of the ideas. You had a really great idea. I'd like you to share that with the group, please.
Well, one of the things that we're looking at is you go to the affidavit that's filed saying that I'm an owner builder, and we think that there might be through regulatory and administrative powers, be able to, if you submit an affidavit saying you're an owner builder and you plan to live in the house for however long you live in, and then it turns out you don't, it's pretty, that's falsifying an affidavit and a fraudulent act, and the administrative agency has the ability to do that on very little proof and paperwork. Not that hard to prove.
Thank you. Any other board comments or questions? Had some great robust discussion on the underground economy, and I really appreciate all of those. We're going to continue with items 5 and 6 to conclude our day. I appreciated all the conversation, and we still have a little bit of time. So let's do multi-state sting and sweeps, item 5. This agenda item focuses on multi-state sting and sweeps. David and Margie are going to make an opening statement. And
With Nevada and other states to look for enforcement operations to get maximum exposure. And I know for this year, so if I turn over to Steve Grove, maybe to talk about this most recent operation. So Steve, just, you could talk about how you identified your targets. I know that in years past, we've worked with Paul Rosario in Nevada to do stings on, cross-border stings. We weren't able to do it this year. It might be something we think about doing next year.
Yeah, correct, Dave. Each year, CSLB, in this 3-week period, conduct as many stings and sweeps as we can all across the state. And this year, we were able to conduct 3 sting operations, Shasta County, El Dorado County, and what was the other? Monterey County. And normally we do more than that, but again, because of COVID, we were not able to pull off as many sting operations. And then with the sweep operations, again, we try to hit as many counties as we can, and we hit over 20 counties with multi-agent sweep operations. And while CSLB's sting operations are very effective at catching a handful of unlicensed contractors at any given time, the much bigger impact comes from the deterrent when our public affairs office puts out the press release of the sting operation. And to be able to participate in a nationwide enforcement effort and get the word out on a national level is a huge opportunity and something we look forward to every year. Any questions on the NASCLA operation?
thank you. Margie?
Well, thank you. Nevada was pleased to participate in the annual NASCLA enforcement operation to combat unlicensed contracting. This year we conducted 98 site visits during the 3-week period, which resulted in 50 criminal cases for unlawful construction activities, 7 cases related to violations of industry regulations, and the issuance of 22 cease and desist orders, 3 criminal citations, and 4 violation letters. And I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Rosario to share the board's involvement in this event or highlight some of our current unlicensed contracting activity events.
As Margie and Ms. Green had mentioned, we participated, we were one of 12 states to participate in the NASCLA event this year, and it was highly effective. As Steve mentioned, it's just getting the word out to the industry, to the public, that unlicensed contracting is not a good thing, that it is against the law, and it needs the law that needs to be enforced. One of the I think the benefits of an operation like this is the fact of its national footprint. Though one state can do it, it's much better when you have states across the nation that are able to do that. And for us to be able to participate in that and be, a player in that, I think is a true benefit. As Margie mentioned, the statistics, I think one of the most important things about an operation like this is the fact that our staff understands the importance of working in that our picture, that our issue is not something that is just a state issue or just a local issue. It's something that it touches all across the nation. Other than that, it's the efforts that we try to do on the enforcement side is to obviously protect the public. We do all that we can day in and day out, regardless of whether or not it is a NASCLA sting operation. And it takes, when the important thing of it is the communication with the public. What we've been very effective, what we've been able to do effectively is for those that have been harmed by unlicensed contractors financially, that we have been pretty effective in applying force on them to repay the homeowners in cases in which it is so egregious that one of the things that we can do is put over their head that we will file criminal charges against them. And if you look at the amount of money that's associated with some of these, they would be felony charges. We've been very successful in order to receive or retrieve or have the homeowners be paid back hundreds of thousands of dollars over this past year, which is a true testament to our investigators and the work they're doing. And try to get these contractors licensed. It's very difficult when you have homeowners that knowingly hire unlicensed contractors. And though that may be very difficult for us to prove, sometimes that is the fact. But regardless of that, if they are harmed by an unlicensed contractor to a point where it's so egregious and we feel that we can obtain some relief for them from the unlicensed contractor, we will do every effort we can in order to do that. So I'll have to say, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments from the boards? Any comments or questions from the public? Thank you very much.
Next item is item C6. It's a discussion concerning outreach successes and opportunities. Michael Phillips, the Nevada State Contractors Board Public Information Officer, will report for Nevada on outreach successes and opportunities, followed by CSLB Public Affairs Committee Chair Alan Guy and CSLB Public Information Officer Samantha DeMello.
Good morning, Chair Tykert, Chair Martin, and your respective boards. For the record, my name is Michael Phillips, and I'm the Public Information Officer with the Nevada State Contractors Board. And I would like to talk to you briefly about some of the outreach successes and opportunities we've had in the Public Information Office over the last fiscal year. In the fall of 2021, the board engaged in a residential solar outreach campaign to highlight new residential solar requirements. And that campaign included a joint press conference with local and state officials to discuss the new solar requirements of recently passed legislation, and to also emphasize the importance of hiring licensed contractors. Additionally, the campaign had the creation of a new residential solar tab on the NSCB website to help inform the public of those changes. And we also sent an industry bulletin out to the licensed contractors to make them aware of these changes. Furthermore, we sent an informational release to media and integrated social media graphics and posts into our social media efforts to further spread the message. Also this fiscal year, the board started a LinkedIn social media channel, and we found this to be very productive, and in a few short months we have over 430 followers, and we just find it another way to engage with another channel, another group of people who are interested in receiving our information and need to be educated about some of the issues out there. Further, we had outreach in many forms, and we were excited for the opportunity to get back out into the public and interact with people at different events. And we had the opportunity to attend dozens of events and interact with many different demographics. This included students at Construction Career Day, families at home shows, older Nevadans at senior centers, and we sought out homeowners throughout the state to tell them about the important benefits of using licensed contractors, including our residential recovery fund. We also remain focused on informing the real estate industry of the importance of using licensed contractors and sharing that information with their clients. We prepared specific materials for the real estate industry, which included social media kits, tailoring communications for some of their newsletters, and also doing presentations to property management groups, homeowners associations, and real estate groups. And we were also an active participant in promoting careers in construction. We participated in panel discussions at Nevada high schools, and also Construction Career Day, which is organized by the Contractors Association. And these events are always a great opportunity for us to interact with students and show them that there's more to the construction industry than maybe the stereotypes of just labor jobs and the other ideas that might be out there. Finally, I wanted to talk about some of the outreach opportunities that we see for the upcoming fiscal year. We will be updating our communications plan to enhance strategies in the promotion of licensed contractors. We will also be emphasizing our communications to seniors and other vulnerable populations about contracting rules and requirements. And then another major opportunity we see for outreach is to update our website. We are working on updating our website and our mobile app to refresh it, provide new information, and make it more user-friendly. Finally, our efforts continue to put more of our materials in other languages, Spanish being our highest priority, and so we will continue to enhance those materials. That's my presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Alan?
Thank you, Chair Tykert and Chair Martin. My name is Alan Guy, Chair of the Public Affairs Committee. I will share the following updates on CSLB's outreach efforts. CSLB is constantly exploring and using innovative ways to deliver key messages to consumers and the industry. The Public Affairs Office continues to collaborate with industry, consumers, and government entities to produce effective outreach that includes using CSLB's social media platforms, virtual video events, in-person meetings, and the CSLB website. I am pleased to highlight some of CSLB's recent outreach successes. CSLB strives to increase licensee diversity. To achieve this goal, the Public Affairs Office published an applicant outreach series in English and Spanish that is available on CSLB's website. These materials are used for CSLB outreach presentations and provide an overview of the process to get a California contractor's license. In addition, staff has also continued to produce English and Spanish versions of the monthly Get Licensed to Build virtual workshop. The live webcasts have been well attended by those interested in a contractor's license. To further reach and engage with California's diverse communities, press releases and key social media messages are translated in English and Spanish. CSLB has nearly 15,000 followers across all social media platforms. Thank you to the Public Affairs Office for their ongoing efforts to educate the public and bring awareness to construction-related issues. With that, CSLB does see opportunities to let's start that again. With that, CSLB does see opportunities to diversify its outreach. You can find a list of planned outreach opportunities on page 46. CSLB is working with the Joint Enforcement Strike Task Force, as mentioned in Agenda Item 4A. The Public Affairs Office will assist in coordinating educational workshops with agency partners, such as the state's Employment Development Department, to assist applicants and licensees in complying with contractor state license law and other business requirements. And as emerging technologies impact the future of our industry, CSLB will also focus outreach on assisting in the effort to meet California's carbon reduction goals. On June 28, 2022, CSLB staff met with representatives of industries who engage in distribution, sale, and installation of fossil fuel appliances to discuss the impact of statewide decarbonization goals and recent energy policies on the industry. CSLB is looking to partner with California Energy Commission on developing outreach to educate contractors' HVAC decarbonization goals, including changes in state building code and legislation. The Public Affairs Office is currently working on communications to C20 and C38 contractors, including an industry bulletin for C20 and C36 contractors to ensure their projects are in line with the state's carbon reduction goals. Addressing decarbonization goals and in achieving permit compliance overlaps with Enforcement Division. And finally, CSLB is looking at outreach opportunities to help reduce the number of consumer complaints for solar installations by educating consumers about solar projects, including which contractors are allowed to install solar. I'd like to have our Public Information Officer, Samantha DeMero, come up and maybe provide a few comments.
Thank you, Mr. Guy. I am Samantha DeMello. I'm a Public Information Officer for the Contractor State License Board. I just want to make a few general comments about the Public Affairs Office and our activities. Consumer education and protection and licensee education is always top of mind when developing our outreach. As outreach strategies are developed, the Public Affairs Office will seek opportunities to partner with CSLB staff, state agency partners, and community and industry-related organizations. The Public Affairs Office will continue to increase engagement to reach our diverse communities so that we have access to all those folks who will need these resources and information, and ensure that our information is translated into English and our highest priority of Spanish. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any board member comments for Alan or Samantha?
I just have a comment. I do know it's a real tough job for the PIOs out there, because this industry, it's hard to make this industry, especially the licensing portion, so informative to the public. It's a hard thing, kind of, what to say, a little bit boring in general, but just getting that information, it's a hard task and a hard order, and everyone does a great job on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Any comments from the public on this agenda item? I'll turn it back over to Chair Teichert. Thank you.
Okay. Before we adjourn, I want to thank the Nevada Board and staff for the strong working relationship that has been developed in collaboration on consumer protection goals. I have requested CSLB staff research the ability to hold next year's joint meeting in Nevada. Can I please get a motion to adjourn the California board meeting?
Second.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
I would like to take this time to extend our appreciation again to California Board and Chair Tykert and Registrar Foat for the opportunity to meet today. Do appreciate all the discussion.
I'd also like to echo the comments from Chair Martin and thank Dave Foat and his staff and the California Board for being our valued partners in our quest to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public. Looking forward to seeing you all in Las Vegas next year, and thank you again for bringing our boards together for this great discussion.
May I get a motion for adjournment of the Nevada State Contractors Board meeting?
I have a motion.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's adjourned. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.